Hello and welcome to the 2019 BRSCC Mazda MX-5 SuperCup and the season opener here from a sunny Snetterton in Norfolk. Most of the old favourites are returning for another crack of the whip this season, with some new challengers looking to make their way up to the front of the grid. Here is the grid for the opening race of the season. Perennial podium finisher last year, Aidan Hills has the first pole position of the year, with Luke Herbert, the reigning champion, alongside. Jack Harding and Steve Roberts are next, ahead of James Blake Baldwin and Will Stacey, with Patrick Fletcher, an impressive debutant, on the fourth row, with Gary Townsend. Nick Rutter and Will Stevenson round out the top 10, ahead of Jack Sycamore and David Henderson. Then Bradley Kent, George Grant, Simon Baldwin and Christopher Richardson round out the grid. Well, here we go then. Lights out, away we go. We're racing in 2019 on board with George Grant, and immediately contact there, and that is Jack Sycamore getting into the back of somebody on the run towards turn number one. But Aidan Hills will lead the field into Rich's corner. Jack Harding trying to get up the inside of Luke Herbert for second. He won't quite be able to do it. There's the number 9 car of James Blake Baldwin, who had more wins than anybody else last season, apart from the reigning champion Luke Herbert, who came out on top at the end of what was a cracking season last year. And Herbert already has the race lead away from his teammate Aidan Hills. Hills down to third position then in the early going. There's Bradley Kent going up the inside of his teammate George Grant there, who runs a bit wide over the curves. We're on board with George. Somewhere to our right is the youngster Bradley. There he is, number 44 Essex Kent Motorsport car. Goes right around the outside, and Aidan Hills is on the grass. Hills runs wide out of Palmer's, and that allows Steve Roberts up the inside line down towards Agostini. So it's Herbert that leads the way. Harding second, side by side for third, with Roberts up the inside of Hills. And Roberts will go through. Will Stacey up into fifth place as well, ahead of James Blake Baldwin, who did have the most podium finishes of anybody else last season. 14 times on the podium for James Blake Baldwin in 2018. But that disqualification at Castle Combe that put him out of the championship hunt, he'll be determined not to repeat such woes this year. George Grant sideways, not the only one by the looks of it. Quite a bit of dust being kicked up ahead of us. Bradley Kent there chops across our bows as we turn through the right-hander at Oggies. Side by side again towards the sharp end there. That's Blake Baldwin up the inside of Will Stacey, and Gary Townsend tried to join in the fun as well. So the 48 car of Will Stacey got his first ever victory last year at the first race of the season at Silverstone. That was in slightly damp and drizzly conditions. While here at Snetterton, things are a lot brighter weather-wise, but not necessarily for Will Stacey's prospects, because he's dropping down the order now. We've also got Patrick Fletcher, that is, by the looks of it, the black and red car, coming up the inside line. He's going to try and go around the outside now at Nelson. This is fraught with danger. Patrick comes from One Make Racing background. He is a former front runner in One Make Renault Clio Racing, making the switch now to rear-wheel drive sports cars in the shape of the Mark III Mazda MX-5, and immediately on the pace, qualified in 7th on the grid. He's lost a bit of ground in the opening exchanges, but he's starting to pick his way back through. He has gone past Will Stacey. Gary Townsend is next. There, the black and green car, number 36, is David Henderson. New colours on that car for 2019. Someone was on the grass just in front of them all, but I think they're all just about going to survive the opening lap, even Jack Sycamore, who we saw get that contact at the start. And the first lap, appropriately, of the season is going to be led by Luke Herbert then, the two-time reigning MX-5 SuperCup champion. Jack Harding is second, Aidan Hills is third. Simon Baldwin there having a look at the inside of David Henderson into Rich's corner. Can't quite do it there though. The leaders, you can see them sliding around through Coram into Murray's and onto what may become the final lap of the race, I reckon. Fast running out of time in this. It's been a very, very closely fought season opener. There's Jack Sycamore going back through the bomb hole, and that is one of the Baldwins. Is that Simon or James Blake Baldwin in front of them? Couldn't quite tell there. Both cars identically liveried. One of them number 9, and one of them is number... of course, he always used to be Simon Baldwin, it was number 9, but Simon running with a different number now. He's number 16. So the two of them were fairly close together, of course, after James's spin down at Agostini's earlier on. We never did see how that started, but we know what happened in the end. He lost lots of positions and lots of championship points. You drop your 3 worst scores over the year, though, so in theory, as long as he doesn't have too many more bad races, Blake Baldwin should be able to count this as a drop score and sort of forget this race ever happened. But it's a bit early in the season to be thinking about that. Leaders then down towards Agostini for the final time. Is Aidan Hills going to be close enough to attack Luke Herbert? Well, not on the way in, but Herbert takes an invitingly wide line into the corner, doesn't he? And Aidan must have saw maybe another opportunity there to nip up the inside. Half a lap to go then. And whilst Herbert's been sort of controlling this throughout the middle portion of the race, Hills looked like he was really challenging him. But right now, not really close enough to fully attack, I don't think. But let's see what happens as we go out onto the Bentley straight. Herbert's got a decent margin actually now as he slides through the right-hander. Out to the corner. Well, not great acceleration there out of the turn, I didn't think.
I think they're getting ready to wave the
Herbert, Hills does seem to be closing, doesn't he? I wonder if there was a missed gear or something there for Luke Herbert, because he didn't come out of that right-hander quickly enough, really. And yes, look at this, Aiden Hills goes to the outside line. He's going for the race lead, less than half a lap to go, and Hills is through. Aiden Hills, out of absolutely nowhere, has snatched the lead away from Luke Herbert, but gets sideways. There's contact between the two of them. Where's Jack Harding? They're almost three abreast going down towards the bomb hole, but Herbert's going to get back through. Oh, Aiden Hills will be kicking himself for that sideways moment. He's sideways again now at the bomb hole, and Harding's going to go through into second place. So from second to first to third in the space of 3 corners for Aiden Hills. He'll still be on the podium, but that was so nearly a race victory. Down to the last corner they go. Herbert looks like he's got this in the bag now. As long as the car accelerates correctly out of the final turn, it's going to be a drag race to the line for second place. But Luke Herbert is going to kick off his championship defence in perfect style. Win number 13 in his career comes at Snetterton in race number 1. And for second place, it's absolutely neck and neck by 13 1/1000ths of a second. Jack Harding fends off Aiden Hills, but that was a really close run thing down to the wire, and Aiden will be really miffed to have lost the chance of a victory there. Herbert, Harding and Hills the podium men, but not necessarily in the order it looked like it would be with 3 corners to go. Steve Roberts is 4th, Patrick Fletcher top 5 on his debut, whilst Will Stacey is a solid 6th. James Blake Baldwin 7th after the spin, ahead of Townsend, Simon Baldwin and David Henderson. A brilliant way to open the season though here at Snetterton.
Well, Luke, there are people who say that it must be madness to come back and try and defend the title once. You're back to try and do it twice now. No one's ever won this thing 3 times in a row. That wasn't a bad way to start, though, was it?
No, I'm going for the triple header. You know, it's such great fun in Mazda. So, you know, budget is low. So, and the racing it produces is great. So, you know, why not come back and defend it for a second time? But yeah, good start to the season. A win out of one race. So it wasn't easy. Around this circuit, you know, it's the hardest thing to do is lead a race, especially with the long straights and the headwind. So I think Aiden briefly got in the lead on the last lap with 2 corners to go when I missed a gear, but luckily I managed to get the switch back and take victory.
Race number 2 for the Mazda MX-5 SuperCup about to get underway with Aiden Hills on pole position. Can he go and get a race victory here? He was so close in yesterday's first race. He'll be determined to do it today.
Let's see whether he can do it then. He's on pole position is Aiden Hills, Jack Harding alongside him. This grid based on the 2nd fastest times from qualifying yesterday. Luke Herbert and Steve Roberts are next, ahead of Will Stacey and James Blake Baldwin. Patrick Fletcher and Gary Townsend, with Will Stevenson and Nick Rutter rounding out the top 10. Jack Sycamore, David Henderson, Bradley Kent and George Grant together again. Then Simon Baldwin and Chris Richardson didn't set any times in qualifying, so he is at the back of the grid for the first 2 races of the year. Right then, on board with George Grant, race number 2 of the season about to get underway. Away we go. Simon Baldwin there launches off the back row of the grid with Christopher Richardson, and Simon already gaining ground. He too had a troubled qualifying session, but the rest of the field head towards Rich's corner as one. And look at Simon Baldwin up the inside of 2 or 3 cars here into Rich's corner. Bit of contact with Jack Sycamore there. George Grant bails out of it all as well, and is in risk of going right down to the back of the field now because Chris Richardson's up the inside of him as they head down towards the Wilson hairpin for the first time. At the front of the field, it's Aiden Hills that's held on to the lead on this occasion. He didn't quite manage to do that in yesterday's race. Harding is through into, holding on to second I should say, ahead of our race 1 winner Luke Herbert in 3rd. George Grant toward Palmer's, that's Bradley Kent up the inside in front of him. We're up the inside of Christopher Richardson, so he manages to stay out of last position. Down the hill we go then, Harding busily defending this 2nd place. Gary Townsend into 5th place there, the yellow and black car, with James Blake Baldwin now trying to get up the inside of him as they go through Agostini. James really could do with a good result here, and he could do with getting away with the leading 4, because he didn't manage that in race 1, and then had that spin down at Agostini's, which dropped him momentarily down towards about 9th place. He fought back to 7th in the end, but that still was not the kind of result we expected from James. Leaders through Agostini though for the first time. Hills, Harding and Herbert. How many times have we said those 3 names together? Always in different orders it seems, but Aiden Hills, who very briefly was leading the race on the final lap of race 1, ended up falling down to 3rd though after that move didn't work, and now he's trying to pull away whilst they scrap behind, because Harding and Herbert are wheel to wheel for 2nd position. Down the back straight they go. It might even be 3 abreast, because Harding has used the slipstream from Aiden Hills there to almost pull clear of Herbert and almost draw alongside for the race lead. That's James Blake Baldwin. Oh no, and he's collected by Will Stevenson. James Blake Baldwin, for the 2nd race in a row, is off the track. This time in even more spectacular and I fear damaging style than in the first one. Bradley Kent off the road as well. Will Stevenson again in both races has failed to get through the first lap without contact. Blake Baldwin will try and recover, but if there's damage to the car, he may be forced into the pit lane to retire. We will monitor that situation with interest. The same goes for Stevenson as well. The leading trio, or quartet really, because Steve Roberts once again is going with them, head out of Murray's for the first time on board with George Grant, who's all over the curbs as he tries to attack. I presume that is going to be Nick Rutter again in the orange car in front of him. Backwards here then as they come across the start finish line. What a disastrous weekend this is turning into for James Blake Baldwin, who is usually fairly handy here, but things not quite going to plan this weekend, it would seem, and his season is off to a really, really rubbish start. He'll be hoping he can salvage something out of this race, and if not, through race 3, I can tell you actually James has pulled into the pit lane, so Blake Baldwin clearly had some damage, has pulled into the pits and appears to be out of the race. So drama already for one of our main championship protagonists. 4 of the other main championship protagonists, though, are absolutely together as they head down towards Agostini for the second time, and Jack Harding goes for the race lead. Big lock up there, though, and had to be careful not to clatter into the back of Aidan Hills, so bailed out of the manoeuvre. He will have flat spotted his tyres, though. He's slow off the corner as well, so Luke Herbert now draws alongside him through the left-hander. Oh dear, Luke Herbert can't quite go around the outside of Jack Harding. If Jack finishes on the podium in this race, by the way, he will have scored more podium finishes than anybody else in the history of the championship. Oh, George Grant, though, having one of the liveliest races of anyone we've seen in the championship for a while. He's off the track again, he's got dirt on his tyres, he's fighting the steering wheel. He's got past Nick Rutter at some point. He's now doing his very best to give Nick Rutter a place back, it would seem, but he fends him off again as they go through the right-hander at Williams onto the Bentley straight. I noticed that Will Stevenson's behind them, so he has continued. Alan Henderson's win record, if he could win this one. He and Tom Roach tied on 14 points apiece, with Alan Henderson the winningest driver in history on 15, but of course Alan and Tom don't race in the championship these days. Alan is here this weekend though, supporting the AK Automotive squad. Oh, contact between Hills and Herbert. Herbert went to the outside of Agostini. I didn't think anything was going to come of that, but then Aidan Hills locked up and ran wide, straight into his teammate Luke Herbert, and that opens the door perfectly for Jack Harding to get up the inside. So Harding into second position now, and Luke Herbert down to third, and it could become fourth before much longer because Steve Roberts is trying now to attack as well. So, well, that again exploded into action out of nowhere, a bit like the final lap of race 1, where I sort of thought all of the positions were set until Luke Herbert missed a gear coming out of this corner, Williams, and that allowed Aidan Hills to attack, and that sparked off that fantastic sequence of corners at the end of the final lap of the race. Well, again there, Hills seemed to have it all covered, and then locked up and ran wide, clattered into the side of Luke Herbert, and that's cost Luke a position. Luke, they're trying to do something about it immediately as he applies the pressure now to the 43 car of Jack Harding. Jack's hanging on. Herbert in the tail tracks now as he heads into the bomb hole. Steve Roberts again has closed in as a result of that battling, but hasn't ever really looked likely to get past either of them, but he might look into a second place if they keep ducking and diving like that. There was almost contact between the two of them there, and this once again is giving Aidan Hills some breathing room. Every time Harding is in second place and Herbert's attacking him, they do seem to hold each other up because Harding is just having to defend so much around the circuit to keep Herbert behind. Bradley Kent and Nick Rutter continue their dice, and Rutter was trying to do to Kent what Kent did to him a lap ago. He ran too wide through Brundle, got on the grass, and then it's everything he can do to keep George Grant from going through. Next, over the curb to Coram once again, and George Grant clambering all over the back of Nick Rutter. The leaders, though, are onto the final lap already, and I think that this battling for second place might have just handed the victory to Aidan Hills, but it's a long old lap here. An awful lot can happen in 2¼ minutes, so I'm not counting any chickens just yet, but Aidan Hills may just be on his way to his first victory of the season, a victory that he very nearly took yesterday, but in the end he has to wait until the second round of the championship potentially to get the win. This would be his third career victory if he can get it, but the question really is what's going to happen for second place. Harding is defending second, he runs out wide and Agostini outbrakes himself, and he's going to allow Luke Herbert through at the corner at which he passed him a lap ago. So Herbert back into second. Has he got time to do anything about Aidan Hills? I think he is a bit quicker than Aidan at this stage of the race, but the gap was almost a second again at the start of the final lap, and in fact Harding is fighting back, trying to get second place away. These are valuable championship points. It's going to come down to the wire again this season, you have to imagine. We may only be in round number 2 of the championship, but you can already foreshadow how close this is going to be come the end of the season at Donington Park. And it's starting right from the word go. Herbert second, Harding third, pulls out of the slipstream, not to attack this time though, but to try and defend from Steve Roberts, who finally on the last lap of the race is becoming a real factor in the podium battle. Tries to go around the outside of Jack Harding, who outbrakes himself again there in his attempts to defend third position. Snatches a break, nearly runs into the side of Luke Herbert's car. But with 3 corners to go, Aidan Hills might just have done enough now to take his first victory of the season. And with Luke Herbert down in second position, it will be very tight between the two of them in the early championship points race. Through Corham they go, down into Murray's for the final time. And despite the fact that Luke Herbert is catching on this final lap, I don't think he's actually going to catch Aidan Hills before the checkered flag. So it will be a Rob Boston Racing 1-2, but it will be Aidan Hills who takes his first victory of the season. Luke Herbert is second, Jack Harding is third, Steve Roberts comes home in fourth position, Patrick Fletcher another top 5, with Will Stacey, Gary Townsend, Simon Baldwin, David Henderson and Bradley Kent rounding out the top 10. Nick Rutter is 11th, George Grant 12th and Christopher Richardson 13th. Jack Sycamore and James Blake Baldwin crucially non-finish, whilst Will Stevenson was excluded from the result post-race.
Well, Aidan, congratulations, career win number 3, and that one was a bit of a strange race, wasn't it? It looked like it was going to be a fairly calm affair until about mid-race distance.
Yeah, the beginning of the race was really good. You know, Jack obviously didn't quite have the pace that we had, so the car was perfect for the first few laps, and I managed to really gap him. And I saw Luke get into second, and I thought, I know me and him are about the similar pace, so when he's chasing, he's going to be able to catch up. And the car started to go off a little bit. So, yeah, second half of the race, I come across the line, 10 minutes to go. Luke was in second, and I think I drove in my mirrors for the rest of it, just trying to manage the gap and obviously just put the car in the right sort of places. And yeah, it's good to get the first win this early in the season and 2 podiums out of 2. So yeah, good points.
The third and final race here at Snetterton for the Mazda MX-5 SuperCup is about to get underway, and this is the reversed grid race. So Aidan Hills and Luke Herbert, our 2 winners from earlier in the weekend, have plenty of overtaking to do. This is always a good one, and I'm sure this is going to be no different.
Final race of the weekend then, as I said, the reverse grid. Simon Baldwin and Gary Townsend row 1, Will Stacey and Patrick Fletcher on the second row, ahead of Steve Roberts, Jack Harding, Luke Herbert and Aidan Hills, the top 4 from the first 2 races. David Henderson and Bradley Kent are next, Nick Rutter and George Grant on the 6th row, Chris Richardson and Jack Sycamore row 7, James Blake Baldwin might not be out there at all unfortunately on the 8th row, and Will Stevenson excluded from the previous race, so starts from the back. So the 5-second board then is thrown. Will we get 3 different winners from the day? Herbert and Hills have a win apiece, but they both have overtaking to do in this one as a result of the reversed grid. Lights out, away we go at Snetterton, and Simon Baldwin from pole position tries to lead the pack down towards Rich's corner for the first time, but Gary Townsend has a good start on the outside line as well. Patrick Fletcher is the black and red car on the outside trying to make progress as well. But look at Jack Harding. Jack Harding into 3rd already from 6th on the grid, and he's going for the race lead. He's up the inside of both Simon Baldwin and Gary Townsend as they go towards the Wilson hairpin. Surely he won't get through. No, he has to back out of it, so Baldwin will lead the way. Just maybe not the Baldwin that we expected this weekend. Second place for Harding-ish. I think Gary Townsend will have to give that place up as they go down towards Palmer's. On board with Nick Rutter now as we watch as we watch George Grant in front of us picking up a position. Behind us, Will Stevenson there, we can see from the rear-facing camera, is going up the inside line. Aidan Hills is trying to get up the inside of Luke Herbert, who in turn is trying to get up the inside of Patrick Fletcher. But the order is Simon Baldwin, Jack Harding, Gary Townsend, the top 3, and Patrick Fletcher, already with 2 5th-place finishes under his belt this weekend, is now going for 4th up the inside of Will Stacey. I think Will hangs on though, and Fletcher might be a bit slow off Agostini as a result of that. To Hamilton's now, Nick Rutter with the 99 car, looking on at still George Grant in front of him. As though through Oggies. Any change of the order? No, it will still be Will Stacey 4th, and in fact he's now attacking Gary Townsend for 3rd place, will looking for a podium result if at all possible here. Then it's Patrick Fletcher, then it's Luke Herbert and Aidan Hills. So we're only halfway around the opening lap, but already Jack Harding has made much better progress than those two have. That could prove crucial at the end of the race, because Harding is challenging for the race lead already. He's going around the outside of Simon Baldwin as they run down the Bentley Straight, into the Brundle and Nelson S's, and he's gone through. Jack Harding from 6th on the grid to lead 3/4 of a way around the first lap of the race. Brilliant stuff. Simon Baldwin second, Townsend third, a spin for Steve Roberts. Steve Roberts goes around. That's a real shame for the man who's had 2 fourth place finishes to start off his season campaign. Fastest lap to boot as well. He was only 10 points off the championship lead. That will all change now, though, with a disappointing third race already. Back with Nick Rutter coming down towards the first corner. Yeah, the gap came down again that time. So I'm not giving the victory to Jack Harding just yet. Luke Herbert would love to get a second win of the day. Herbert has set the fastest lap as well on that lap in closing in on Jack Harding. So crucially, he's taken the 2 bonus points away, and much as we saw in the previous race where he finished second with fastest lap, he's now set to score exactly the same amount of points as the race winner, potentially, unless Harding can pull something out of the bag here in the later stages. What's really impressed me though is that Luke Herbert in the first race set the fastest lap on lap 5 out of 9, and on this race set it on lap 7, so he's clearly got the tyre pressure set absolutely perfectly, and he's coming on really strong in the second half of the race. That is a little ominous for Jack Harding, although it must be said that Jack also just set a personal best lap on the previous lap, which would have been enough for the fastest lap had Herbert not immediately pipped him by a couple of tenths. So the gap came down by 2 tenths that time. Jack Harding, though, is fairly secure in this race lead for the time being, but if Herbert gets any closer, then he will potentially move right within striking distance. The gap not really shrinking massively as they come through the right-hander, so the AK Automotive squad can breathe a sigh of relief for the time being, while Boston Racing will be cheering on one of their several drivers out on the circuit in this race. Luke Herbert, the best placed of the RBR cars in this one. Look at the gap they've got over everybody else. The gap from second back to third is about 15 seconds at this point. It is still Will Stacey in that third position, with Simon Baldwin being reeled in by Aidan Hills, I can tell you. So Aidan Hills in 5th might just be able to salvage 4th position out of this race. It's still going to be a case of what could have been, because had he not had the moment, then he would have been in the catbird seat to capitalise from Simon Baldwin's spin, and he could potentially have got himself another podium. But that's looking less and less likely now as we run out of time in this third and final race of the weekend. There are many things that we predicted coming into this season that have come to fruition, in that we expected it to be Harding, Hills and Herbert that had the podium positions, and Jack Harding is going to take the checkered flag, and that means that he is now a record equalling winner, a 15 times winner in the MX-5 SuperCup. Luke Herbert is second, and we have 3 different winners from the first 3 races of the season. That level of competition we also sort of predicted coming into the season, and I hope and I expect that it will continue throughout the rest of the year. Harding and Herbert first and second. Will Stacey back on the podium for the second time in his career, with Aidan Hills recovering to 4th. Simon Baldwin a disappointed 5th. Will Stevenson, Gary Townsend next in line, ahead of David Henderson, Nick Rutter and George Grant. The retirements: Patrick Fletcher, a very disgruntled Steve Roberts, Jack Sycamore and James Blake Baldwin, a non-starter.
Well, Jack, you've completed the set now, then a third, a second and a race victory. I'm sure this was the sweetest of the races this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, we've never had any success around Snetterton before, never had a podium, so to get on the podium this weekend was the aim, and get 3 podiums would be even better, but I'm always pushing for that win. Reverse grid. I was a little bit worried going into it, in all fairness. I thought it was going to be a little bit of mayhem, but I got a good start and got through the traffic really quick, and I knew that if I didn't get past Simon at the end of that straight on that first lap, then everybody else was going to be on me. So yeah, luckily managed to get into first and then just get that gap while they were all still battling behind. But such a hard place to lead around here, so many corners, so many places to make mistakes. I locked up a few times, and I could see Luke coming in the mirrors, but yeah, I just managed to hold him off.
So 3 races here at Snetterton, 3 different race winners, and a championship that could not be any more finely poised as we head to Cheshire for the next 3 races, all in a single day on the Alton Park International Circuit. Join us then to see what happens.